obviously there isn't much news out about between the two matches that we've got with the Liverpool win. Now we're in the Champions League. Everyone's talking transfers, but there's been a lot of conversations regarding Carrick, tactics, decisions, who who should stay, who should go, and I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to ask me to go over a few things. It seems that a lot of you like the way I sort of describe why and how we do things. Going on which videos you click on the most. Um, so yeah, it's over to you tonight, really, with your questions about the club and what you see us going forward. Because let's be fair, it's now we're we're Billy Big Bollocks again. We're in the big time, and we'll be back in the Champions League. So now we've got to be looking forward, positivity, and start thinking about what is to come through this summer, through the transfer window, or even next season, managers and or if Carrick continues. So let me know. Get in the chat. Any questions are good questions. Nothing's off the table. I would like to keep it towards football. Trevor Wade, if you're popping in, I know what you're like. I'll be talking about my favourite sort of science stuff rather than actual Manchester United. But I also want to know what it is about the channel you like. You know, we are coming to the end of the season. We are coming to, as the Americans call it, the off season. And I want to know how to grow the channel better for you. So what I can bring in, what you might want me to take away. So yeah, talk to me, guys. Talk to me. Danny, you are the first in the house with their green and gold. Love it. So I'm going to go to you. What did you think of Sean's show that we were on earlier? I found it quite ironic that only last night on Tactical Devils, I was talking about a certain Mr. Edison being my number one priority. And then today, the news story breaks that we've leapfrogged Atletico, definitely leapfrogged them now, in the race for Edison. I know he's not your number one. I know Sangari is, but you were on the show last night with watching. Would you prefer someone like Edison over a 20 million Southampton midfielder? Let me know what you think in the chat. 7 of you watching, make sure you're smashing a like. And if you like this kind of content, literally make sure you've hit the subscribe as well, guys. We are on the road to 150. My goal at the start of next season is to have hit 500 and start the monetization on the channel. I can only do that with you guys. So your feedback is invaluable to me because that's the only way I'm going to achieve it. So what you got here, Danny? Yeah, saw Edison links last night. I thought of you, pal. Yeah, well, I've been chasing him for, God, it was when I was talking to Adam on FUTV and we used to do stuff on the old Big Up channel. For me, he was perfect to bring in while we had Casemiro as an understudy. You could, at that point, he was Casemiro's understudy in the national team. Recently, he's been dropped by the national team. He's been dropped by Atalanta. He's had a similar season to Baleba. You know, what's the old saying? Basically, you get old, but you don't lose quality. You know the one I mean. We need a proper number 6 and use 2 number 8s. Evening, Grace. Grace, any questions? Get them in. Anything you want me to talk about or sort of describe that is not Dallo related? It can be Dallo related, but it's just not everything's Dallo related. Get your questions in. Let's have a look. So, yeah, Edison. Everyone talks about Baleba, and I was sort of trying to say this on Sean's show earlier on United versus Everyone. If you've seen the channel, go check it out. If not, the absolutely great videos he does, in-depth reviews of players, covers 21s, 18s, like myself. Yeah, it's a hard one because Baleba has all the Premier League experience over an Edison, but only 2 years of it. One good season, one bad season. So it's like a toss of a coin. But Edison has the Champions League and Europa League experience, but both have dropped off a cliff. last year. I believe Ederson's was due to his lack of game, not game time, sorry, lack of big games. So he was wanting to leave the club 2 years ago. He had a buyout clause, 35 million euros, I think it was. So it was even cheaper. It was about, 27, 28 million pounds. And basically, they would only sell the one player. So, and we know this because, to be true, because when we got Rasmus and then we were looking at other players and they would only sell Ahmad, they wouldn't sell someone else. And he's never got his move out. And I think he's just got frustrated to the end of, well, fuck you, I don't really care anymore. And he's seeing out his contract. He's got 1 year left, so maybe it's the right time to go for him. But the price is a little bit too high. Grace, what is this we got from you? Let's see. I'll work my way through the chat. Danny, I'll just answer yours. What's Grace got? Do you think Dalot taking Ronaldo's mentality is the reason for being the best player in the world right now? I wouldn't say Ronaldo's still the best player in the world, because that must be who you're talking about. But Dalot taking Ronaldo's mentality is a big part of Dalot. Because Bruno has it. Every Portuguese player seems to have this drive and determination, and it doesn't matter who they are. It is highly, in my opinion, thought of, highly sought after. When you look at Silva, people like that, they have it. Vitinha, Neves. I suppose when you have someone who sacrificed so much to be the greatest, it's got to inspire you, right? The Argentinians have always looked the same way to Maradona, now to Messi. Obviously, Brazilians have, the list is endless, going from Pele all the way down, to God knows. I suppose the Portuguese started with Eusebio. When you have a player like that you can idolise, and you have good media coverage of those players where they don't destroy them in the press, that's why the mentality builds. We've had amazing mentality monsters in England, but the press decide to try and destroy them and make them out to be something not necessarily they're not, but something we don't need to know about. I'm sure Ronaldo's got dodgy pasts and things like that, but we don't know about it, and it's always stayed out in the media. So I hope that helps there. Dalot's better than Ronaldo. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, Grace. Everyone's entitled to an opinion. There is a Ronaldo out there that Dalot is better than. That is a fact. I will give you that. Danny, what have you got here? For an extra 10 million, just get Gomez. You know what he gives in the Prem. Very similar player. Sorry if I just deafened anyone. I don't think João Gomez is going to stay in England. He seems to have dropped off the list. So there must have been some kind of communications. Maybe he wants to go back to Portugal. Maybe he wants to stay at Wolves. Obviously, I don't know. Maybe the family are settled. But his name has really dropped off the list of players, Danny. If you look at I know what you're saying regarding him being similar. I feel, and you sort of said it here, he is a risk, like in the Baleba category, in the Ederson category. Gomez will be in that category because although he has Prem experience, he doesn't really bring enough international experience in. So European experience isn't going to be there either. But I like it. I like what you're saying. He would be cheap. I am all for buying cheaper options. Make the money go as far as we can. So we got ideally 7 players roughly we need to bring in. And they can't all obviously be £100 million players, which is all you'll see that we're linked with. What you got here, Grace? This was a good one. Liverpool paid just over 30 million for Gravenberch from Ajax. Do you think we could scout a good number 6 rather than buy someone like Tonali or Anderson? I don't think they suit a midfield 3 in Mainu and Bruno. I don't think Bruno suits a midfield 3. That's sort of the main problem for me, Grace. 100% we should be scouting better. But if we had gone for Gravenberch, he wouldn't have been 30 million. He would have been 50, 60, 70 million, and some idiot at United would have paid it. So I really can't ever get my head around the fact that Manchester United seems to get ripped off for every player, no matter who is in charge of those transfers. So we've overpaid for Ugarte, we've overpaid for Martinez, we've overpaid for, well, Rasmus. I felt we overpaid for Cunha. I felt we should have got him cheaper, around the 35, 40 million. We overpaid for Sesko because the price got driven up before when we were going for Gyökeres. That drove the price of Sesko up and we became a bit of a bidding war. So 100% we should be scouting these players and they've got to be out there. But someone at United is just scared to take that risk, to bring in that Cucurella, to bring in that, weird £4 million signing that goes on to be sold for 100 at Brighton. Well, even that we surely can get for 20 million and then just hold on to them, and it's a bargain. So I do agree. We should be doing so much better in our scouting, but Gravenberch was well known about and the price didn't go up. It's just how fast they're pulling the trigger of the gun, if you like, to get the deal done. That Van der Sar spoke to Gary Neville and he explained the transfer scenario regarding Anthony. They were more than willing to sell him cheaper, but other people went first and then therefore they didn't want to sell him. So if they were going to sell him, they were going to make you pay through the nose. And that's just great business. So I totally get it. Yeah, definitely. That's Gomez. You are right. And this is what it comes down to is United tax. So although we can see any deal can be on the table, guys, but it's how slow we are to react that we end up paying through the roof. Cool. Yeah, you keep these chats coming. And guys, if you're watching, get the chats in. I don't care what it's about tonight. This is all about you. This is about you telling me what you want, okay? We don't need to pay 100 million for a midfielder if they aren't the right profile. No, the profile, Grace, I talk about this a lot on here. The profile is more important than the name. Always has been, always will be. United would never have signed the amazing Jason Park if we went for the name, would we? And every United player who ever played with him says about how amazing that guy was for what he could do. He wasn't going to score worldies, but what he could do was man mark someone out of the game. What he did well, and he didn't need to do anything else. And sometimes football is that simple. If you can win the ball with every tackle and just play the pass, then great. Give it to someone who can do something better. Roy Keane's words, that is. If you can't do something with the ball, give it to me. I'll do something with it. And that's how he brought the young players through. Don't be scared. If you don't think you've got it on, give it here. We'll tick it. We'll make it tick. We'll go back to the right back, left back, and you just keep coming. So, no, absolutely. Profile player is absolutely huge and the main thing we need to get right this summer. Even Dorgu was a little more expensive because we came knocking. Yep, exactly. And no one was really looking at Dorgu at all when we got him. He's probably our most successful transfer at the start. I know people will say Cunha, Sesko and Bumo successful transfers. The goalkeeper is obviously a given. Totally different kind of transfer to an outfield player. But I think Dorgu has just been so misused. I'm looking forward to next season seeing him as a winger and seeing what he can do in that respect with less defensive duties, maybe. I'm telling you, Agama is the 6 we need. Again, do you not feel it's a big risk, Grace? Or would you say he's a 6 we need and we bring in 2 6s and we get more experience and we bring him in and, we keep Mainu and it works like that? Because I do agree, he's great little player. But is he ready to play 60 games next season for Man United as the out and out holding midfielder? That's the main question. Whoever we're bringing in, they've got to look at like 60 games if we're going to do anything. Yeah, he's good, Grace. Lemons was the bargain signing of the season. He was a bargain signing because no one else was looking at him. But you can't disagree. We still should have put a bid in for Donnarumma while we were looking at Lemons. We could have had both. I'm not saying Donnarumma would have chosen us over City. I'm not saying that, but it was still wrong that we didn't try and sign him. Who would be the other six? Grace. That's a really good question, and it's not about who. It's what. If you buy young, you need to buy old to match them, in my opinion. So obviously, you see Tactical Devils, and they go on about Sander Berge. He is the yin to a young Mainu's yang. You know, Casemiro yin and yang is what I refer to him as at the moment. But if you bought a young 21, 22, 23 midfielder, I want a 28, 29, 30 midfielder who can play 20 games and be there day in, day out at training. Talk to him before when the hard times come. Come see the game out when maybe we need to drop an 8 and put in 2 6s, to make that solid. And just talk people through, create a spine, Maguire, whoever, an old person in midfield and an old person up front makes it perfect for me. Evening, Bilal. Bilal, get your questions in, my man. Whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want me to go into, join it. You can see from what everyone else is saying. Have your say tonight, and we'll talk about United, how we can talk freely. Pour yourself a drink if you're a drinker. Have a water, have a beer, have a wine, whatever takes your fancy. Imagine you're in the bar and we're just going to have honest conversations. At the moment, Grace has asked me who the other 6 would be. I would be looking at anyone over the age of 28 with international experience. Could I get someone on a free? Maybe. It worked with Ericsson, Grace. Could I put a name to it? No, probably not, because experience is one thing. But it doesn't have to be the biggest name. It could be I'm just trying to think someone who would really work. Could be anyone out of Spain that's sort of seen out their time. So for instance, a Chouamini and a Stiller sounds great on paper, but I don't think I know Chouamini's got a lot more experience, but he's still quite young and inexperienced. For me, the number 6 we need is to extend Casemiro's contract. Just, mate, what a season you've had. One more year. You play less games and we'll do something with your wages. Whatever it is, but we'll put you through your coaching badges, which he's probably done already. That's the kind of thing I feel that we need. It's hard for me, Grace. I'll have a think while the show's going on. I'll have a think about some 6s. Danny says Stiller and Mateus Fernandes. So, see, that's the thing. Is he going to pronounce his name Fernandez or Fernand? And that's going to be a commentator's nightmare. Below Danny, do you have Anton Stach of Leeds? Do you like him? I didn't when we played him, but yeah, he is. He gets around. There's a few in the Premier League, sort of lesser players. Stach is one of them. The Ukrainian guy Yumelak at Brentford, I thought was very good against us. Obviously, there are maybe some at Fulham who could be looked at stepping up. Obviously, Sander Berge. You got. I'm going through the DMs now in front of me. I wouldn't want to go too far down because you start thinking of Baleba, Anderson, that's your Forest and Brighton and Palhinha at Tottenham. I'd bring him in. If Tottenham got relegated, I'd say, mate, do you want to do a year at United? This is what the contract is. So, yeah. But Statch, it is about engine for me. And he has that. And it's been embedded into him. You can't play that kind of Leeds football without it. I love Adam Wharton, but, with the rumours of him going to Liverpool. Well, guys, here's a question back at you guys. Do you think us getting Champions League football and we need 1 point to guarantee third to finish above Liverpool? Do you think we got a shout of getting Walton then over the top of him? Do you think we got a shout of getting Anderson? Now we're there. We're closing in on City. City it's still dodgy ground for Anderson to go there because you've only got to look at Reinders and he's been dropped out of that team. I'll be like, look, if they can do it to Reinders, they can do it to you the following season. You've got to, hey guys, you've got to shoot your shot, yeah? You got to have a try and get the best players. And if you don't try, you're never going to sign them, are you? So we've got to do something. Bilal says he won't be here for long tonight. Well, Bilal, get your get some questions in. I'll go through them. If you're not here, you can watch the video back tomorrow or whenever and see what your answers were. Just load up the chat. I don't mind. Or whack them in the comments. Either way, after the show, I can come back to them on another show. Grace, would you sign a striker? 100%, Bilal. I would sign a striker. I would, if I could, I would sign 2 because Xerxes obviously going to go. That says we need 2 because Rasmus is going. I wouldn't have sold Rasmus. You're all aware of that. I think Rasmus and Sesko could probably make a really good partnership, similar in age, similar in sort of demeanor, quite laid back, quite chilled out guys. But I think we need a live wire up front. I think maybe now would be the time to test Osman. Maybe now would be the time to maybe see if Ivan Toney wants to come back. And I know a few of you probably think, bloody hell, what's Mark been drinking? I just think they're a different profile of striker that might work for us. I think Sesko's still developing. He needs more of a killer instinct. Those two definitely have calm killer instincts. They get in the 18-yard box and it all slows down and they just slot the ball. Obviously, Harry Kane would be a dream, right? But I don't think that's going to happen. What's Grace say here? But is Anderson really a 6? Seems to me he's more of an engine box-to-box 8. I agree. Grace, that is one of the things I've spoken about a lot. Baleba is a 6. Walton, 8. Anderson, 8. Tonali, an 8. Bruno G, an 8. Do you see what I mean? They're able to defend, but they are more of the old school box-to-box Declan Rice current kind of player than a Casemiro replacement. And it's whether we want that one single pivot 6 who can do that. That's why I've said Edison, Human's very close stats-wise to Rodri. Doesn't mean he's as good as Rodri. Don't get me wrong. His stats are good for the league that he's in. Even Baleba, they are 6s. But you are right. A lot of the other ones, Scott, 8. They're 8s. And they are Kobe Mainu replacements. But some of them can do the box-to-box and a tackle. And when they do get the ball back, they can play it. And if they're fast enough and can get themselves between the ball and the player and nick it away that way, I don't have a problem with it. Anderson, always first choice. Okay, yeah, I get that. I think everyone's got their first choice midfielder. Mine would probably be Tonali. But I keep saying this. I want Lewis Hall at left back. So when we do the summer, after the season's finished, we start going into our transfers and I break down mine. I'll give you a heads up now. I would love Lewis Hall as a left back, which means we can't get Tonali as well, in my opinion. But I don't know if anyone else would do that. Would you trade Tonali for Lewis Hall as a replacement for Shaw? I think most of you would want to replace Shaw. Yes, there are cheaper options. Yes, that might work. Diouf at West Ham. There is the Brentford left back as well. But you've also got to think sometimes you can only get one player out of a club. So would a Thiago as a striker interest anyone at Man United? So therefore, we wouldn't be able to go for any other Brentford players. I want Cunha down the middle next season. I want to see a proper winger. Grace, well, now that is controversial for the night, Grace. I'm going to come back to that one. I just want to see what Bilal's saying because he said he's not going to be here for long. Hey, he's here for a good time, not a long time tonight, Bilal, yeah? Are you fluent in Spanish? As you said, you lived there as a young boy. No, I am bloody not. I still ask for the La Cuenta, por favor, which is the bill in Spanish. Count to 10. It's coming back to me. One of the girls is learning Spanish at school, but I was out there sort of from 3 till... No, maybe not... Well, I can't... No, 4. Yeah, 4 to about 11 for about 1 to 2 weeks at a time for every half term, summer holidays, everything. My grandparents had their villa out there. So I'd go out, spend time out there, watch Spanish TV. It's amazing at a young age what you pick up, but if you don't use it, it gets locked away in the back of your mind and goes. I am tempted. I'm very tempted, Bilal, to pick up the old what is it? Not Rosetta Stone, but there's an app, isn't there, where you can learn all the languages, and I can't think what it is. The wife is learning Chinese, and one of the girls is doing German, one of the girls is doing Spanish, obviously with the school. God, what's it called? You have to put it in the chat. But yeah, I am tempted because I think it will start coming back to me really quick. So, and I would love to be more fluent in Spanish. It's let's be honest, it's a sexy language when spoken right. Tony would be a good shout. Danny likes that. Is Mateta on a free? Now, Danny, Mateta would be an interesting one because of what AC Milan did with the medical. They asked for more information and it stopped. Bilal, you're off. Good evening. Thank you for popping in, my man. And make sure you give the video a thumbs up on the way out. Share it if you can. 9 of you watching currently on here, make sure you've all given it a thumbs up, and if you can hit the subscribe and help me on the road to 150, that would be amazing. We want to hit the 150 by the end of this month. Don't forget the channel's only been going since November, so we are growing fast and it's you guys helping. Yes, Danny Mateta, he went for a medical to go to AC Milan. It was obviously inconclusive. They asked for further testing and then pulled out. So I don't know if that's to do with the skull fracture he suffered or what. I like the way he plays. But he's more of a battering ram, helping the ball around the corner than a goal scorer. I know he does get his goals, and it's probably worth a shout. I'd love, if you could get him on a free, I'd take him. Absolutely, I'll take him. Same as I would take the Bournemouth defender, beginning with S. Jesus, this is the only problem when I do the late shows after the Champions League, guys. The brain is fried. Yeah, there are some good free transfers out there. Oh, well, Grace, we'll come back to you. We've got a new one here. Kadishma. I hope I pronounced that properly. If not, you might have to break it down. What do you think about Sando Tonali? I think he's really overrated. Ooh. I really like Tonali. Let's leave that up. I really like Tonali. Do I think he's overrated? I think he's in a perfect partnership. So I think you are right and you're wrong at the same time. I think a lot of people get confused that Tonali's all about him, but it's the way him and Bruno G work together. I think after Tonali came in from obviously his betting suspension, Bruno G went to another level. and Tonali's matched it. Do I think he is one of the best out there? Is he in the categories of the Rodris at the top, the Kantes, the Makalelis as a holding midfielder, or that deep lying 8? No, I don't. Do I think he is better than most in the Premier League? Yes. I would definitely put him up there with the Declan Rices, the Andersons, people like that. But I like him for certain aspects of his game. It's not his aerial presence, and that's one thing I feel we need in midfield. You really, mate, put me on the spot there. You come back. He's just a workhorse, not a great passer, neither. Great defensively. He's the Mason Mount of DM. But every team needs a workhorse. So, Alex Ferguson used to say, and I know this is cliche, guys, but he's not the only one. I've had managers say very similar things, but I can just remember Ferguson's wording. If he had, this was to do with his 99, it might have been in the documentary, but as long as he had 7 players that gave him 8 out of 10, he knew he could have one player who could give him a 6 or a 7 out of 10 in a game. Any more than that, we'd lose. That workhorse is vital. He may not be a great passer, but if he's there in the press, and if you think how we press now, so Bruno presses up with the striker, both fullbacks go, we press in like a front 4. He would be able to help out in that press and get back. And it's just about being around. I think the Newcastle midfield 3 of Joel Linton, Bruno G, and Tonali, none of them are superb. But together as a 3, they are, you've used the right word, they are absolute workhorses. They are absolute mentality monsters, and they work together to just snuff it out. And at the end of the day, if they can form a brick wall in front of that player or surround that player, they're getting the ball back no matter what. But you are right. There is one aspect. What does he do when he gets the ball? Because he's not a great passer. Real Madrid used to say, Casemiro wins the ball. You give it to Kroos or Modric, they'll do everything else. Roy Keane used to say the same to the youngsters. Just give me the ball. I'll keep it moving. And when I'll give it back to you, and if you can't see a pass straight away, give me the ball. Keep it moving. So it's about coaching sometimes. Maybe he hasn't had great coaching. He's still got that Italian mentality. And maybe that's changing. We definitely need a workhorse, but you don't spend 8. No, that's what you're right. 100%. We don't spend 80 to 90 million on someone who can't do anything else. You do. You go buy a workhorse in a... Arsenal did it last year. Norgard barely played, but they bought him. Right, to stop other teams getting him. B, as they knew he was a workhorse cover for Rice or Supermendy. So yes, no, 100%. I agree with you on that. I really like that comment. You are right. You don't spend 80 million on Jordan Henderson. 100%. Any Temu version of a top player, you don't go and get for that kind of money. He's got to be, if you're paying 80, 90 million, he's got to be a great passer. He's got to be a good header of the ball, interceptor of the ball, can attack, can get box to box. They have to be top of the game. They have to be a Declan Rice. Because I rate Declan Rice that much. Wanted him. Obviously, he went to Arsenal, and I think Arsenal don't utilise him properly. But, whatever they are doing with him is obviously working at the moment. Right, I'll come back to this one, Grace, because I feel like you may have heard me say it. Would you take Hjulman? He's a really good player, captain for Sporting, and is 26, nearly 27, but he's got an Arsenal tattoo. Yeah, he has on his left arm. No, it doesn't bother me. Do you think Teddy Sheringham came to Man United as a fan, or after all those years at Tottenham and growing up around Millwall and Tottenham? Of course not. Players can support whoever they fucking like. Michael Owen played for us, Liverpool. Wayne Rooney played for us, Everton. And I think Rooney's got an Everton tattoo, hasn't he? or something that is wording towards Everton, it really doesn't bother me. Hillman is the man that I talk about a lot with Rodri's stats. His heat map, his passing stats, his interception stats. Yes, they're in a lesser league, but no one's going to know unless he steps up. He does it in the international, he does it in the Champions League, and he does it in his league. So very, very good player. Right age category for what I'm talking about, experience. I would take him with a younger midfielder. He can play the 6 on his own. I would say he's more of a 6 than a deep lying 8. So and the tattoo, as long as he ain't taking his shirt off on our pitch or in a Man United thing, that's the only thing he would have to think. When he trains, he can't train in a sleeveless top with an Arsenal tattoo. That's about morals and that's about respect. A bit like not walking over the badge when it's on the carpet. So in the thing, you walk around the badge. He has to have respect if he comes in, not to show that tattoo off. He'll get enough stick from the players in the changing rooms, getting changed. Can you imagine us when we're up against Arsenal? Fucking hell, mate, you can't play today, can you? Not with that on your arm. Get him on the bench, Gaffer. I can imagine the banter being a hell of a lot worse than what I can actually say on YouTube. But yes, no, Grace, I absolutely love Hillman. I think he's very, very good. I didn't know much about him, and Jarvis put me onto him, and I looked into him. I was like, actually, he ticks every box of what I would ask for, and he really does have that fighting mentality. He's like a younger, like defensive Ericsson. That's the way I look at him. The sort of mentality Ericsson had going forward, he has in that defensive area, and he just don't care. He'll just do whatever it takes to stop him. So he is Casemiro-esque. He's not overrated, but he doesn't specialise in anything specific. He works in a solid midfield three. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the Tonali. Danny's back 100%. When you can get Sangari at Lens for 30 to 40 million, just as good as Tonali. Yes, Sangari is got. So Sangari would answer Grace's question earlier. That is the player, Grace, that you would hope we scouted and go and get. Is it Mamaguri? I'm sure it begins with them. Sangari at Racing Club Lens. Very, very good. Tall, Paul Pogba-esque. Probably needs to fit. Danny, I haven't seen him recently, but I think he's still a little bit beanpole-esque. He needs to fill out a bit in the shoulders and that. And I might be wrong. I haven't seen him in a while, like mainly most of the season, if I'm honest. But I've watched him a lot. Grace says Snarley would work in the Liverpool midfield title-winning team under Klopp when they had. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you would take Tonali for Henderson as a replacement for Fabinho. They could do with Tonali now, if I'm honest. That's why I'd be surprised at the Walton. Yeah, Grace, you really do have good ball knowledge. I've got to be honest. You do know your stuff. Well, anything that is not to do with Dallo, she really knows her stuff. Might be an unpopular, but I still believe in Baleba. It's not unpopular. But how can you have one good breakout season where everyone's talking about you and then the next season fall off the cliff? So let's talk about red flags with Baleba. He was superb in his last season, I thought. He gets linked with Manchester United and he's fallen off a cliff. He's had fallouts at the club, probably about wanting to go in January, wanting to go at the beginning of the season. Did his mentality go because, oh God, Man United are in for me? I don't know. I haven't heard much about him. So Baleba actually lives only about, how far is it to Sompton? 12 miles, if that. Less than that, probably, from my house. And I know people that know him. I won't say anymore. Still no contact. Still doesn't look like Brighton want to get rid of him. 100 million is basically, that's their asking price for any player. Don't always believe it. But it's a toss of a coin. I think it would be a real gamble to go for him. Yeah, it's hard. We were talking right at the very start. I don't know if you saw it. Baleba or Edison for me. I'd take Edison, and Danny would take Baleba. Would rather go for a Baleba, but his first choice is Sangari and a few other weird and wonderfuls from outside the Premier League. But they are all solid players. Grace would say Hillman, Baleba, and Matthias Fernandes. Baleba. See, the problem with that is, Grace, that's 160 million on Hillman and Baleba if we were to take their current prices. And then Fernandes, if West Ham get relegated, maybe you get him cheaper. So that is a hard one. 11 of you watching. Come on, guys, get more of you in the chat. You know, Grace, Danny started here. We've had Bilal in. He's been and gone. Karishma. I'm terrible. I do apologise. Has joined the chat. They're having their say. You can have your say. Just come on. Just anything you want to talk about regarding Manchester United. It can be the transfers, can be the manager, can be our season. It can be next season. Come have your say. Whack the subscribe button. Get yourself in the chat and give the video a thumbs up. Human fans. League Un has got some ballers. Sangari and Lamena Kamara. Yes. Always has done. Oh, Sean's in the house. Evening, Sean. Atletico is shy. Yeah, Sean, I did watch the game. I thought it was all going to kick off at the end, right at the very end when they were with the ball. Every time the ball went out, and there was just more and more Arsenal people who I've never seen in my life appearing around the side of the pitch. Grace Sheridan saying Cunha down the middle. There's only way to get Cunha down the middle, and that's to take Bruno out. Or do you mean as a striker? Oh, you're going to have to clarify that. Do you mean as a striker or two up top? A Cunha. I wouldn't mind seeing a Cunha and a Sesko up top at some point. Mbumo on the right, Dorgu on the left, and then Mainu and Bruno playing in the 6-8, maybe an option looking at stuff for next season if that's the new manager. But Grace, Cunha, yeah, he's definitely got to be more central so he can go left or right when he picks the ball up. But he does like that inside left channel to pick the ball up. Sean El Snoozer, yeah, very true. Baleba and Walton, get that midfield sorted. Sean, did I not say this on your show earlier about Walton? I think Walton and for me Edison, but Baleba would work as well. But then Kaneshma, what I would say back to you, what about Kobe Mainu? If that's your two, are you dropping Mainu to the bench? Are you dovetailing this week Baleba, next week Mainu, next week Walton? What do you say there? Trevor Wade, I knew you would be coming. It's question night, Trevor. It's Tuesday. It's questions. Not much to go on. They have to be Manchester United based, okay? I'm not getting into pyramid talk till later near the end of the show, okay? Before you start throwing those ones at me. While everyone wants Baleba, who do I want? I want different scenarios, and it really does depend. I want a Hillman, I want a Baleba, I want a Walton. I would take a Tonali, but I would also take a Lewis Hall, which stops my Tonali, and I will keep saying that. Anderson, I feel we should have Walton, Anderson, and Mainu, and that would be a Manchester United midfield because Manchester United has always had the England midfield for a very long time. We've always had one or two of them in that midfield for 20 plus years. You think Carrick, we had Rooney in there from when he started dropping back, but we've had Carrick, we've got Mainu, we've had Paul Scholes, Nicky Butt, David Beckham, Brian Robson. What period do you want? There's someone missing for obvious as well. But yeah, there's so many. Cunha's centre forward, false nine, Bruno behind. Absolutely could work, Grace. Absolutely, that could work. Sean, would like your take on that. What you would think on Cunha playing as a false nine. But I would rather see Cunha in like a front two, and see how that works. You know, it's very old school 4-4-2, but I think you might see more two striker options up front next season than any other season for about the last 8-9 years. Arteta needs to be humbled in that final. Oh, Grace, I'm pretty sure when PSG go through tomorrow or Bayern, I think Arsenal maybe can beat Bayern, but there's no way Arsenal beat PSG, not playing the way they're playing. That there's not enough goals for them to stop PSG. PSG can score from anywhere. They will score in every game. They haven't got hope in hell against PSG, personally. Dorgu left back or left wing? Left wing. Absolute left wing. Dorgu is not a defender. He was bought for Lecce. Was it Lecce? Was Lecce, wasn't it? He was playing right side of the front three, I believe, or sort of there or thereabouts. So he was even playing on the right, which ironically, when he put him on the right against Nottingham Forest, best game he had under Amorim, and we were like, well, yeah, you put him in the position he knows. So, yeah, for me, he was definitely a left winger. He's not the best. I would like to see Ajay maybe get some minutes in one of these last 3 games. I think he's deserved it. I think will help him next year into the 21s and progress if you give him that little taste of what could be in first team football. Mark, what are you trying to say? I have a variety of questions. So you definitely have a variety of questions, Trevor. You definitely have a variety of questions. You just scare the hell out of me with what you might ask. Cunha as a false nine would not work. Would actually prefer Mount in that role. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. And then Sean says technically Cunha is a false nine if you deep it. Look at where he tends to be on the pitch. Agreed. And that's why I think he would work in what I have always referred to as the Teddy Sheringham role or the Berbatov role, where you drop off from that front striker, you pick the ball up and you just appear back in the box when you need to be there. And I wouldn't have a problem with that. I feel Cunha Knight, he just gets around the pitch so well. But you would have to free up the 10 role for that to happen, which is obviously Bruno, which means dropping Bruno back into a midfield too. And everyone seems to be against that, even though he got half of his assists in the midfield too this season. Yeah, interesting. That is a real interesting take, Trevor. You would say no, and Sean thinks that, and Grace has asked the question. Basically, it just shows in the front 4 positions, Cunha could probably play any of them, and Mbumo can play any of them as well. I think he could play through in the 10 role. Not necessarily as a link-up play, but definitely as running. Trevor says PSG score so many they do it off the pitch. Also, yeah, absolutely. Mount disgusts me, but he's got nice hair. Mason Mount is an absolute superb footballer, and from his football ability, I won't have a bad word said about him. But his physical ability is glass, isn't it? And at the end of the day, there's only one ability you need, and that's availability. So, and I know that's cliche. Don't cringe too much, guys, but it's as true as it gets. We will only potentially play a front 2 if Bruno were to leave, unless you want to play 3-5-2 or 4-4-2 diamond. That's sort of the point, isn't it? Do you remember you've got to have more than one formation though, right? Ferguson, 4-4-2. And it's only because you said this. And then we used to change to the 4-3-3 later on for the European matches to match what other people were playing. Because he was always worried about getting outnumbered. So even that, sometimes it was more like a 4-5-1. To have the extra man in midfield and not get overrun, because a lot of the Italian teams will play the extra holding midfielder, and the Germans. Especially Bayern Munich, they would always play the libero role between the defence and the midfield as a holding midfielder before that there was such a thing. So yeah, that is right. Cunha tends to move very left no matter what position he plays. He moves left so he can dribble and eventually cut back in on the right. Very Rashford-esque, I would say. Very Rashford-esque, and we have to be careful of that. Guys, keep your questions coming in. This absolutely, the chat is cooking tonight with weird and wonderfuls. So I'm just going to have a look. So we're on Cunha, and we say about him left-hand side. Are we all of agreement that Cunha is not a left-sided player, but he drifts out to the left? So he's what we call the left channel, so the inside left channel. There was something I think I said it on Tactical Devils last night, and someone else I saw say the same thing. It may have been on Sean's show earlier about could we get Cunha sort of Morgan Rogers. Oh, yeah, it was Beth from United Stands. I remember it now. Cunha, Morgan Rogers, and Bruno. And I was like, obviously not. If you want to get Mbumo, Cunha, and Rogers, Bruno has to go, or you play Bruno as the front man. And you have a front four that rotates all their positions. Because obviously Morgan Rogers has been quite heavily linked with us over the last 4 months. It seems ridiculous that we could even be talking about replacing Bruno after the season he's had / it's not over yet, but having that he'll end up with the assist record. I'm sure of it. But if you do see people linking you with players like Morgan Rogers or anyone that is Cunha-esque, Bruno-esque, or Mbumo-esque, why do names have to rhyme? It's not gonna. That 10 role is Bruno's. There's no one else who can come in there. We have Mason Mount. He's never going to play that role. We have Cunha. We know he's not going to play unless Bruno is injured in the 10 position. Xerxes, well, he's going to leave the club, but not going to play the 10 position. So Morgan Rogers has to come in for someone we only signed last year on the left side or the right side. Now, I'm all for strength in depth. Don't get me wrong. Football is about having a strong bench, or as what they like to call now, finishers. Yeah. Now you can have 5 subs. They're not the substitutes, they're the finishers. Most ridiculous wording I've heard in coaching manuals ever. But, what is it a finisher if he comes on in the first half then? But it's ludicrous. I was trying to pick my words careful here, but I'm going to go with ludicrous. That we get linked with players in any position that we've just bought a player for, unless that player flopped. Sesko, not a flop. Cunha, no. Lemons, no. Mbumo, no. So all those positions are taken for the next season at least, right? Unless well-classed, like, sorry, Cunha, we've got Finney Jr. coming in on the left. Okay. You're not gonna think it. That's not going to happen. The only team successful to play 4-4-2 diamond was 2000's AC Milan and Real Madrid under Ancelotti. Well, I watched Paul Scholes' podcast this morning. What was it? The Good, the Bad, and the Football. And they actually were speaking. It was Peter Schmeichel was on there. And they were speaking about how in some of the European matches, but which we won on the way to 99, it was that Roy Keane was told to play here and Scholesy here. That makes that a diamond. They didn't play alongside each other. They played Scholes in what would have been behind the front too. So we could say we made it successful because we won it in 99. Off topic. We'll come back off topic. Should we do it? It's got Shaw's name in it. But Luke Shaw needs a bit of love. Realistically, he should never be playing football again at any, never mind superb football at his professional one. His leg was almost gone. Mate, I love Luke Shaw. I will always be critical of him because I feel he lacks self-belief. We know that. We know that from some of the stuff that's been leaked out in the past. but he also lacks self-control. And I only found this out last week from Pochettino. So if you haven't seen it, there's a section on the overlap when they're interviewing Pochettino, when they're talking about him at Southampton and how he had to get Luke Shaw, ironically, on a diet plan because he was sitting at home eating things like pizzas and things like that. So they got him on a nutrition plan. And even Roy Keane made the joke where he's back eating the pizzas in Manchester, if you listen to some people. And there's something about Luke Shaw that gives me worries. And it'd be wrong to mention it, but at the same time, I can't really not mention it. There's just something I think when Luke Shaw retires, someone needs to keep an eye on him because Trevor's right. That tackle, he should never, both legs broken. He should never have come back from that and played and scored in European Cup finals and things like that for England. But I think he's his own worst enemy. Personally, I don't know, Trevor. Maybe I've overstepped on that one. You have to come back, but it's just something I do agree with you. Luke Shaw needs love, but he also needs maybe a bit of counselling, maybe a little different kind of professionalism, because he's done so much with legs. One of his legs, he can barely feel, guys. He feels the pins. That's why he wears the socks so low. He can't wear. Although no one does anymore, he can't wear bigger shin pads because they dig into the shin pad. It was horrendous what happened to him. Luke Shaw needs to retire and go work for Burger King. 13 years. That little prick has been here. He has, and he's still given us some up there with some of the best left-back performances we've seen. I would say he's given better left-back performances overall in his England career than he has his United career. But I still think on his day, he's one of the best left-backs of all time in the Premier League. There just wasn't enough of his days. And you could say that's like putting him in the category of Yap Stam. Yap Stam will never be a Premier League great because he didn't play enough games in the Premier League. But we all know that guy was an absolute phenomenal player. Luke Shaw will never be held in the same company as Ashley Cole or Dennis Irwin because of how often he's out injured. Right, Trevor, what you say? Premier League proven is a ting. Oh, look at you. It's the right ting. So Rodgers would be a nice addition. He would be a great addition, but we got to make sure we're fulfilling all the other aspects we need to replace before we start looking at putting players on the bench. Great show. A little love for my Luke Roy. 91 was before my time. Paddy McGuinness gets on my nerves. Paddy McGuinness gets on a lot of people's nerves, but he kept his mouth shut sitting next to Peter Schmeichel. You can imagine. I think he was a bit starstruck. Didn't really say it as much. He's as fake as Rio Ferdinand. Rio's not that bad. He's not that bad in person. He can be very arrogant. So I've bumped into him a few times. So's the missus. I know quite a few people know quite well from the Brighton training grounds when he obviously son was there. And I know some people who played with his son and spoke to him when his son was on loan at Lancing. And he was always at the games. Great dad, very supportive of his children. But he understands the PR machine and the persona on TV, the persona on his shows is not necessarily who he is. This is a guy who done everything to keep his family out of the press. He's been through fucking hell and back. He's got with himself, obviously with the loss of his wife, rebuilt his life. I don't think he's fake. I just generally think he's got a personality. But everyone's open to their own opinion. When Shaw finally got forward and put a ball into the box, it's ultimately led to Kobe's winner. Not only that, it also led to Bruno Fernandes's header that was tapped in. It was Shaw that threw the ball back in after Sesko was pulled back from the first cross. So Shaw put that ball back in as well. And I only noticed that this morning. And that was a deep lying cross I wish he would do more of. You won't like my comments then. Don't know about counselling, but he's proven at times he was the best left back in the world. Never mind Premier League. At times. Virgil van Dijk wears Jaap Stam's pajamas. Yeah, he would want that. I've met Rio in person. Trust me, Mark. It's where you meet him, Trev. It's where you bump into him. So and that's what I mean. He's so far removed down here on the south coast from Manchester United that I feel that persona is different. But they always say, isn't it? Never meet your idols, and sometimes it's how you approach them. When I went up to the what game was it? Fulham game on the way back, services. Howard from Take That was in the service station, and you could see that you don't go over and approach that guy. He was like absolutely knackered. He was with his wife and daughter, and I was just like, as much as getting a photo with him would absolutely piss off my missus, it would have been one of those, hey, look who I got, hey, photos kind of things. It wasn't the right time, so I left him alone. But sometimes we think it's the right time, we just misread the situation. I'm not saying that's what you've done, Trevor, but I've definitely seen it enough bumping into players around the ground and things like that. The only one where I've sort of got upset and starstruck, and that was Peter Schmeichel at Brighton game last year. We know one of the girls on the main desk, and she was like, "Oh yeah, he's just gone in with his entourage." He was doing work for one of the American channels, so it wasn't really an entourage, but he probably takes his wife with him and things like that. And I was just like, "And you didn't tell me? Like, you know, you could have got me in there. I would have been chasing him through the stadium. It's Peter Schmeichel, for God's sake." Yeah. You was talking up Shaw, and then you read my message about him, and I was like, "Oh no, he's not going to like that." Look, no, you're not wrong. No one's wrong about Shaw, and no one's right about Shaw. It's just, I think, age, what you've grown up seeing, what you haven't grown up seeing. I can totally understand why people feel that Luke Shaw's stolen a living at Manchester United. But at the same time, how many times has he not let us down? Do I understand why Man United kept giving him a contract? No, I don't. I genuinely don't. Do I feel that in 6 years he plays 3 years worth of football is right? No, I don't. But the 3 years he does give us, that's right. But what I would say about Luke Shaw, and this is where I talk about talking to people and making the right decisions. Luke Shaw seems to play, and although it's not likely to happen this year, the season that there's a World Cup, it's not the fact that he always seems to be fit when there's a World Cup or a Euros. What happens is he plays that whole season, and United tend to play 60-something games, right? He plays every minute. Then he goes and plays left back for England through the tournament every minute. And then he gets like sick. You know, why everyone's getting an 8-week break, he's getting a 4-week break. He's straight back into training. And you look at his leg and he looks like RoboCop. And then the following season after that, he's injured because it takes him that long with no breaks and that. Someone needs to pull him out of the limelight and go, mate, you need to sit this next 2 weeks out. You need to have an extra break, you know. And it's never been done with him. So that's where I see where Trevor's coming from. He does need a bit of love, and he needs a little bit of someone else needs to look after him, because he's not going to look after himself because he always wants to play. I genuinely think if it's too much football for a Rodri who's kicking off, if it's too much football for the Liverpool players who played 18 more games than us when we played them on the weekend, then surely for someone who's got the legs of Luke Shaw, who's had a double leg break and pins all through his legs, it's too much football, and you need to take him out. And that's just where I see it from both sides, maybe because of the injuries I've had. But you are right, and you've just put it there. But we should be buying replacements if that is the case. And that's where it comes down to Manchester United medical staff, Manchester United director of football, and everyone like that. So that's what I mean. Grace, you are right in what you see. Trevor, you are right about the love. And I think I'm right for, on his day, he's one of the greatest ever left backs. Sean says too much football. Players are hesitant to bring up. Yes, this is a real good point that a lot of people don't really talk about. They are hesitant to bring up knocks, personal struggles, or fatigue out of fear of losing their spot. It's a major stressor. And yeah, lose your spot, you might not get back in, because the mentality of top sportsmen is you have to wait your turn, and then you take it with two hands and you hold on to it until you get pulled back out. And that is where Grace is spot on with what she said, though, Sean, because we've never had someone to go, well, Shaw's out, he ain't getting this spot back off me, have we? When we're out of all those years, we've never really had that replacement. I'm trying to think of the ones who have been there under him. Marcus Rojo? Nope. Tellez? Possibly. Tellez, I think, could have done more, should have done more. I'm just trying to think. Then you're talking Malacia. I would like to see Amas spend the second half of the season with us and swapping with Shaw. I don't know how some people might feel about that. And also, Shaw has been playing in the Premier League since he was 16 also. So longevity thing comes into it from my perspective. Yeah, absolutely. And that's it. 16, plays nearly every season, and spends one season fit, one season in and out, constant injuries, where it would just be better to go. He just needs rotating. And bear in mind, he wasn't always injured up until that double leg break. That is something to remember. So I would love to go to a game, but the thought of being around so many people scares me. Oh, Grace, sorry to hear that, but I totally understand it. One of my daughters, she gets really anxious around lots of people. And we went to, it's obviously not like going to Old Trafford or Wembley or anywhere like that, but we went to watch the netball England Roses play at the Copper Box, and it only holds, I don't know, 10,000, 15,000. I don't think it's even that many. And you could see she was nervous. And we got one of these stressed hoodies now, the Cloud9 hoodies with the stress balls and that. So she's got something to fidget with, which helps. But I do totally understand. And sometimes it's the travel. The travel is worse. I remember taking my eldest daughter's mum to Wembley, and she's not one for being anxious normally, but you get on the tube and then you can't, you can feel the person standing next to you stomach rumbling because you're packed in so tight. And Jesus Christ, that's enough to make anyone anxious. So I do totally get that. But Grace, there are ways, different places, enter competitions for boxes, anything like that. You never know. Get lucky, and maybe one day you'll get there and you will get to see the game and you'll be okay. Don't forget, as long as you focus on the game, everything else doesn't matter going on around you. You just got to have something to focus on. But I fully understand. Trevor, Rojo was a more of a centre back, and Tellez was as weak as water. No, but Rojo he was meant to be able to play that left back role, wasn't he? But he was an absolute nut job. And that Amas was bossing it on loan, injuries though. Yeah, exactly. And is that why other managers thought maybe he wasn't ready? Maybe. I really rate Amas. He does look like Luke Shaw's younger brother. I will say that. When I saw him, I think it was his Norwich team photo or a Sheffield Wednesday team photo. When they put up his mugshot, I was like, Jesus Christ, he really looks like a young Luke Shaw. Shaw has 1 year left. Do you think we'll let him go? Yes, because of his age. But right now, that's why I'm saying, like, for me, Lewis Hall is, if Lewis Hall is available, we have to go get him. I've been saying a lot about Diouf, but yesterday, Jesus Christ, he was terrible for West Ham the other day. As another left back contender. Being around Stu and the Mankini would scare anyone, Grace. I wouldn't blame you. Trevor. Like, we're all used to you, thank God. But I tell you what, people watching you might have taken that as a little bit insensitive there, just as a heads up. But thank God, I will say these two are in chats probably multiple times a week, and in that sense of, well, know each other and how to take that. Tube World stresses the best out of us. Yep, very true. If you get a diagnosis of anxiety, maybe the club would grant you a spot in the disabled section. I was thinking along that line, Sean, but I didn't know how that would work. But absolutely, it's always worth a shot, and that's what I mean about just getting on lists and certain things. And sometimes there is a way. There is always a way, and that's what I try and teach Elodie. There's always a way. Don't worry about your anxiety, because if you're worrying about your anxiety, you're going to make yourself more anxious. Let's just worry about finding a way to make it work. I went to Brentford for the Birmingham game with someone I lived with earlier on in life, and I got stuck in front of a bunch of male teens just shouting and screaming. I hated it. And that is the downside to British football. I've had mates who were those shouting teens, and they've grown up now and see the other side with their kids. Never understood it myself. I was always the one sort of getting in the middle of it. When I was younger, going to away days, nothing like an away day. Grace, I'm sorry you've experienced that, and there are too many people out there. Maybe sometimes I realise I talk a lot like a coach and a football player, but at the end of the day, I'm a dad, and I would never expect my kids to do that. And I would absolutely, I don't condone violence in that respect, but I would absolutely wallop in one if I found they had done something like that, Grace. But alcohol, drugged and fueled, like now with fans, I get it, and I feel sorry that you had to experience that. So, from me as a football going fan who's been there, I will apologise on their behalf. But there are so many of these idiots out there now that use the term ultras. Ultras for this, ultra. Even my local side, Worthing ultras. Fuck off! You get 3,000 fans, lads. And some of them, I'm pretty sure I know who they are. So if you're watching this, lads, I know your parents. But yeah, I've seen photos, and there was one at Havant and Waterlooville away game, and I spotted my mate's son in this picture. Now, they had done nothing wrong, but Havant and Waterlooville had blown it out of proportion. And it had been put on social media, and I was straight on the phone. Wait, you seen your son? What? And just sent in the photo. I would love to have been a fly on the wall with how that went. So yes, it's horrible. It's horrible, Grace, and no one deserves it, because everyone deserves the same opportunity to enjoy. We call it the beautiful game, and everyone enjoys should enjoy the opportunity to watch what they love, how they want to watch it. Knowing Grace's luck, she will enter a competition for a box at United and win. She will get there and see a meet and greet with Stu Willie. No, she'd probably get a meet and greet with Dallo, wouldn't she? Dear, very raw and a young player, need a here and now left back. Yeah, Sean, I do agree. But there's something about him. Like you say, raw. I love a raw player. His crossing is unbelievable, and I just see Sesko getting on the end of them, or Mbumo coming in from deep and finishing it off, or back across the goal. So it's when he puts that ball in, I'm just like, oh, we need that. We really do need that. Oh, thanks for the clarification. Great. They could have easily been shouting at you. No. They weren't shouting at me. They were cheering on for the team and singing chants, but it was so loud. I just wanted to leave. Again, I get that. I get that. I don't know why you do this as a stupid teenager. You get a girlfriend, you take them to the football. Now, I grew up, as a lot of you are aware, South Coast, just outside Brighton. One of my best mates, absolute diehard Brighton family. So used to go to all the Brighton home games when they were down. It was Div 3 at that point. Golston, metal down the back. You stand at the back of the North Stand. It's bang, 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 and Grace, I totally get it. The older grounds, the atmosphere is so loud, and I see it now how that could have made. Well, the girls they come and like you wonder why they've broken up with you. You're like, well, we only went to the football. It's part of it, and it's. Well, the word banter didn't exist, but whatever the existing word for banter would have been at that, it's just part of it. Getting the moment, but yeah, no, it's intimidating, and we know more about how people deal with things now. Dallo meet and greet. No, I couldn't. I'm not sure Dallo could do a meet and greet. He can, it's Dallo. He can only do one of two things. He can either go forward or defend. He can either meet you or greet you. What does he mean by meet and greet? I don't understand. Mark, double barrel question. How many players do you think we sign and how many do you think we actually need for next season? We signed 4 players. I filled up 3. We signed 4 players. We definitely signed 3, but I think we still signed the 4th late on. Another Lemons, last minute deal. We need 7 to 8 players. Grace says 4 as well. For me, 7 to 8 players. Guys, everyone watching, totally appreciate. There's loads of you been watching throughout the night. Make sure you've hit that subscribe button. First and foremost, we are on the road to 150 by the end of this month. 500 is the goal for the start of next season. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, and if you can share it out on your social medias and just explain what this channel's about, how it is no nonsense, and you actually get to have your say, that would be amazing. Dallo, I missed that. Dallo invented twat of the week instead of man of the match. Look, we shouldn't lay into Dallo as much because that guy's going to end up winning us something. And we're all going to have to bloody suck it up. 3 midfielders, no excuse. Yes, left back or left winger. 100%, Grace. 100%. And for me, that's where it comes into. So what I see is 3 midfielders because we should only be left with Kobe because Ugarte hopefully goes. As much as I want Casemiro to stay and be one of those 3, it's probably not going to happen. Left back, yes. Out and out left winger. Maybe. Striker, yes. Centre back. You can't have Harry Maguire for 1 year extension and not buy another centre back. Just going to point that out. Left winger, I'll be controversial. And this might make all these viewers, especially you guys on X, who unbelievable numbers watching on X. Thank you very much. Marcus Rashford. This is my double barrel question straight back at you, Trevor. Who thinks we actually will sell Marcus Rashford? And who thinks if Carrick's the manager, he can get something out of Rashford as that left-sided player? Because there's just something in my head going, he done well under Ollie. And that was Michael Carrick. Bruno's had his best finish to the season. And he had his best seasons under Ollie. And I just think there's certain things he's managing to get out of players. But I'm not saying I want Rashford to stay. It's a fear. It's a fear. We know Barcelona aren't looking to have him. And does Carrick think, I can get something out of him. That's what I'm getting at. So I want to know where you think. I totally see where Trevor's come from. Right, Trev, whack that subscribe again. Come back, Trevor. Why is that? When did Dallas score for World Cup winning goal? You guys know about it. Hey, I bloody hope you don't score the World Cup winning goal, because that means we ain't won the World Cup. And I think this is probably one of our final chances before we start losing. Because if we ain't got a goal scorer coming in to replace Harry Kane, we will dry up very fast. Carrick would probably get something out of Rashford, but don't think he will be the manager. Now, that is the kind of answer I'm looking for, Trevor, because you covered it all off there. And that's very, very, like, not honest, but I totally see where you're coming from. And it is as obvious as it gets. No, because he will want to leave as soon as he gets benched. Again, totally agree. Grace will never happen, unfortunately, as he will be unused substitute. Right, so guys, come on, we need a few more questions or we're going to have to call it a night. It's been going 121 now. I'll give it 10 more minutes. I do have to sort some bits out. I'm going through some stuff for the channel for next season already. It takes time to put things into motion. And that's why I'm saying about your viewership is massively appreciated. I'll have one question for Grace, for you, Trevor, and anyone else who wants to jump in. Next year, we're going to be in Champions League. Okay. This channel is about your opinions. What would you like me to add to the shows we normally do? So you're used to me doing a preview, final score, review show. That's free. Well, that's just going to cover our league games. We're going to have to do that at 6 shows a week. What more do you guys want? That's what I want to know while I read these out. What would you like to be added in there? Was little aspects of it because I will have to do a hell of a lot more planning out from what I do, and I won't be coaching as much next season as it stands at the moment, due to things that are changing at the club, and I'll be back to it the following season. But I might get pulled in to do other things. Unfortunately, that's it. If it's Portugal v England, I identify it as Portuguese for one day. Will Sesko be twice the player next season? I believe so, Trevor. I like what you put there. I'll put that one up on the screen so I don't forget it. Yes, I wholeheartedly think Sesko will be a better player. Will he be twice the player? Remember, twice the player. What's he on? 9 goals or something now, isn't he? It's this is why I feel we need to buy a striker, because he needs someone to learn off, and we don't have a striking coach. So there's only so much he'll learn before he starts to stall. Because being told to make this run, do that run is one thing. Watching someone do that and seeing them get on the end of the cross, the final finish, why you go front post, and then the next run's back post, those sort of things, you have to learn it off of people. Now, of course, he's going to have been around other strikers, Sesko, but it's something you need to keep doing. And unfortunately, it's only something you really realise too late. So I hope United do something, because I don't want Obi being the player learning from Sesko, because I think Obi will get more run-outs next year, potentially, because I would be happy if we bring in one striker and promote Obi onto the bench. That's what I'd say. But will he be twice the player? He won't score twice the amount of goals. That's my only fear, because we don't utilize him. So we need to find a way to utilize him for him to get better. Grace, oh no, sorry, Trevor had this one. More about the youth coming through. Yeah, absolutely. I realised too late on this season that's sort of stuff you guys were looking at. You know, I watched most of the 18s and 21 games, and I think maybe I'll keep an eye on some of the other players in the 21s when we're playing against them that could be coming through for other teams. But for me, next season, I said this, and maybe even for the end of this season, the players I'd be looking at that haven't made debuts yet. Freights has got to make a debut for me. Ajay needs to have some first team football, but play mainly in the 21s. Then you've got McAvoy. He'll come through. There'll be a lot of pressure to play two players next year and see them training with the first team. The media speculation is going to be around JJ and obviously Kai. And they're not ready. They're nowhere near ready. So, yeah, Trevor, I will 100% keep that in mind and add that into my videos going forward. Maybe I'll find a way to do a section on the sort of preview, because preview shows tend to be shorter. So maybe it's something I can add on to that as a 18 section, or I'll learn to do some 15, 20-minute breakdowns of the games and the highlights where people can watch them back. What I will say, and not a lot of people are aware of this, Manchester United YouTube channel is now showing the under 18s and the under 21 matches somehow on YouTube. And they're also doing a lot of the MUTV stuff is going onto YouTube. I don't know if they're going to get rid of the MUTV subscription. I really don't, because I don't understand why. But if there's a way they're making more money through YouTube doing it that way than they are through MUTV subscriptions, watch this space. Grace says 10 reasons why you hate Arsenal video. I could do that. I'm not sure how that would affect the channel, Grace, but I could certainly do videos about the teams, likes and dislikes. It's definitely different. 10 or 11, I think. Do I like Xerxes? No, I do not. And it's more personal than anything, if I'm honest. I don't agree with any footballer who can turn around and sort of say that they don't really have a position, that they're a 9.5. Well, 9.5 is a 10 in footballing terms, because a number 9's a striker. If you're half a striker, then you're playing behind the striker, and that's the position a 10 plays. But you're saying you're not a 10. Like, it's absolute bullshit. When someone's got that much ball talent, I would want to see him driving at players, taking them on. The guy's got an unbelievable touch. He's skillful, and he wastes it. So for me, he's there. He's a joker, and he needs to play in a low level, be big fish in a small pond. That's just the way I see him. And I've known players like him all my life. Like I say, it's nothing. It's personal in the fact of how I see football, not personal as in I don't like him and, you know, we've got mutual friends. It's not like that. It's not quite that deep. One player to come through next season, if any. One player to come through next season. So I'm thinking about players that are in the things. The obvious one would be Freights to be our next one, but I don't feel any will be as standout players onto like starting week in or week out or anything like that. I don't think that's going to be a thing. Maybe Shea Lacey. If you want a controversial, could we sell Ahmad and bring Shea Lacey through? Same position. Ahmad's not offering that much. Do we cash in now before it gets too late? Because just don't forget, to bring someone through, there's got to be space for them to play. I have seen huge improvements in Sesko already regarding in the air and hold up play. Absolutely. And that's instructions. more than anything, and his hold up play is definitely much better. And I would say that's probably I heard something that he'd be doing one-on-one sort of work with Jonathan Woodgate. So Woodgate was marking him, or what he would expect of the top players and how they would pin him and things like that. So, but like I said, I want to see us with a specific striking coach. But when you've only got one striker, what's the bloody point? Grace says JJ is not ready. No, he's far from ready. He's so selfish. He scores a lot of good goals, but I'm telling you now, all he's doing is levering the ball. There's no finesse. There's no cultured finish. He smashes it high and over. Obi does the same. It's very common in young players, and I feel that when we look back at like Makeda when he come through and that goal he scored against Villa, we all know the one, receives it, cuts back, spins, hits it, very much like Kobe's goal last year against Liverpool. You just need to do that little bit something, and they've got to learn certain things. Also, Mark, maybe when the Champions League weeks are coming up, do a roundup of who could be our future opponents going forward. Yes, definitely. We will obviously have the groups of 8. So once we know what that is, I'll do breakdowns of each team. Maybe do that over 2 shows. So we start getting the shows going before they happen, and they're going to be there. Someone asked me, would I do watch-alongs? I am not the kind of person to do watch-alongs. I sit there and I'm nigh on quiet unless we score. I'm there watching everything going along. So talking my way through the game. My missus says it's the only time I shut up. So yeah, absolutely, Trevor. I can do something, and we will do something more around what you guys would want with the Champions League at the beginning of next season. More people we get in gives me a bigger pool of what people would want, gives you guys a better show. Or at least that's the idea. Not everyone can be right. Obviously, I can't do everything, but I am a one-man band. I prefer Xerxes Vandalo. Then again, you prefer Stu Woolley Vandalo. So enough said. The Dallo talk, you two. Do you prefer a box striker or a fluid front three like PSG? I prefer a box striker, and I would, if you think about how our front line is, we play 1 up top, and when we technically play 3 behind, and they could be fluid. Bruno's the one who sort of stops that from happening. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. Bruno goes out to the left and covers Cunha. Cunha goes into the middle. It's more Mbumo who doesn't come off the right until we stick him up front. I do like a front fluid 3, but as long as all 3 are goal scorers and not people trying to dribble and play cutbacks. So I would say Man City have a fluid front 3 at times. But at the end of the day, they only have one striker in Haaland, don't they? So, but no, if I had to pick, I would definitely be a out and out goal scorer. But like you've put it there at the end in this, do you prefer the box striker or a fluid front 3 like PSG? They use Dembele in the 9. Dembele's so fast, he can make the wide runs, and they're just so quick, and the way PSG sort of play, if the centre back steps into midfield and his player then goes out wide, the centre back's almost going to become the winger as well. They are very fluid all over, and that's what makes PSG so entertaining for me. Grace says Lacey. Remember when Xerxes left the pitch as he was subbed and quickly told? Yeah, that's the sort of thing I was talking about. He got out. He definitely got to get out of jail free with that one. He seemed to style it out. No, I had to go get a coat and I came back. I have scouted a winger from Germany, Jamie Leveling. He's very good. I'll have to have a. I'm just copy and pasting his name. I'll have to have a look at him, or I'll be cheeky and ask Sean to have a look at him. So, Mark, do you see any of your? own youth footballers going far in the game. My nephew definitely could have. He just never got the break. I think he could have done a lot more. Very shy, hasn't got that kind of sometimes standout thing, but he's absolutely superb. And he's a very good striker. Very, very good striker. Not quite as good as me in my heyday yet, but he could certainly do a lot. He done some stuff with Chelsea and that when he was younger, but he never got picked up by a club. But many a player don't. We all know the Ian Wright stories and many of the others. Hugo. So I had a player play up front with my nephew from under 18s last year, and he has so much potential, and we only really got him for half the season because the other half of the season turned 18, found out what nightlife was like. But his brother's just signed his first pro papers, and he's a year younger. So the talent's there in the family. It's just whether you choose to do it. Mickey wasn't mine. Mickey played on. So there's the captain of crew, Mickey Demetrio. He played for my brother's under 18s, Worthing. He's the captain of crew, Alexander, and currently I think he's still captain. But Mickey Demetrio was in team of the year last year at centre back. I'm just trying to think of anyone. We've got a goalkeeper, Lewis. I know he watches some of the videos. Lewis is absolutely unreal. In my opinion, has everything it takes. Maybe needs to be a little bit braver, but I think that's me being old school over him being new school in how they block now rather than to come out and take the ball at someone's feet. He's definitely got the potential, but one thing in his position is it depends on your height. As he grows, he could get picked up. He's very, very good. He's only going into his second year of under 18s next year, but he's already played 2 seasons for us. So he was playing a year up already. He's probably the one who I think could probably make it like National League minimum. I think he could go higher. I think my nephew could make National League but football's it's a horrible game. If you don't get scouted early, it's very hard to make it. Something that is helping with some players now is the Ballers League. That's a weird thing, but that could help players out. Mark would love a watch along of the Titanic with Leonardo DiCaprio. yeah. But unfortunately, I know how it ends. It's a bit like going to be Tottenham or West Ham season, isn't it? Going down with the ship. Mark, how far do you want to take your coaching badges? Do you eventually? I would love, right, coaching badges. I would love to have the money and go to Germany, Ireland, somewhere like that. 450, I could get my pro license, right? 450 quid. It could cost me almost 10 grand in the UK to do it. So what I would love and what is feasibly possible, the real reason you don't see so many people of different backgrounds let's put it away. The reason you don't see so many managers from a lower class is because you need so much money in the UK to get your badges to the highest level. But even at county level, we want sort of UEFA B for the Isthmian 18s. So, which is, that's your Isthmian 18 teams are the ones who end up playing the low level pro 18 teams and then in the FA Youth Cup. So I would love to go all the way. I can't deny it. I would love to go the way, but at the moment, financially, how things are, it's not possible. This channel kicks off and I start making thousands. Then maybe I'll get some other people in. I'll do a gold bridge, sell the channel, and finish my coaching badges. Maybe that's the dream. But yeah, no, football's my life. It's in my blood. I'm very passionate about it, as you probably can tell when I talk about it, and I just have very high standards. And I've always thought that it's okay to have high standards as long as you're trying to achieve them. and the people try to achieve those standards when coaching, you don't have to hit them, but you've just got to try. And I sort of hold myself to that same degree. So every good leader is someone that's always learning, and that's how I've always viewed myself. Ahmad and Mbuma are both left-footed, but they are terrible on the left. Sick of this inside forward rubbish. Grace, I am also sick of this inside forward. Put the left foot on the left, the right foot on the right. And Bumo has never, ever played on the left-hand side as a kid until we started playing in there. So what do you think is going to happen? He's going to stay and he's not going to cut back. He's going to turn to his left to track a player, which means he's turning towards the fans when you're on the left side. It's ridiculous. Right, last few guys, because I do need to go. I said 10 and we've done 20. What we got here? I've played Championship Manager 2001. I know my stuff. A Championship Manager back in the day was unbelievable, especially when I used to use the old second disc and edit in my own team with all my mates, and just take out someone and make us all 99 and who was going to be the best player when we've all got the same stats. Yeah, I remember doing that with my best mate Dean. That was great fun. Also, remember being 18 and getting not sacked from my job, but very heavily criticised why I've got a laptop in my drawer playing Championship Manager when I'm meant to be doing data entry. That game was dangerous. Was it John O'Shea's UEFA coaching badges? A lot of other Irish international players were also there, like Real Madrid legend Salgado. Yeah, and Ireland, it's a lot cheaper. And this is what I don't get. If we're all getting the same qualification at the end, it should be a standardized. If it's a UEFA badge, it should be a UEFA price. So whatever it is in euros, it should be to the nearest pound. Whatever it is in whatever country you can go and do them in, whether it's Denmark, Norway, Finland, Sweden, Germany, Belgium, France, I'm going through my countries here, guys. I know my European countries. It should be the same money. And I feel that's wrong. I was talking to one coach so we went on a TUI holiday. I'll make this the last thing. We went on a TUI holiday, and TUI have to have a UEFA B licensed coach to take their kids club. Now, these kids are like 7, 8, 9 years of age. There is nothing in the UEFA B syllabus that is worth teaching to those kids. It's the easiest job out there. He's basically just got to teach them how to pass a ball backwards and forwards. He's not going to be working on patterns of play and things like that for when he's only got them for half a day in boiling hot sunshine, and he's got to give them 50,000 water breaks. And yet I was talking to him, and he was telling me how he went from Spain, done so much, and then he went out to Germany with his badges to a lesser club, and that lesser club helped him get onto the next course. And it's just such a different thing. And this is where England will always fall behind. It's why we won't produce great coaches again, because of all these badges and things you have to have. There is a well-known manager, Dorking Wanderers manager, Marco White. No badges, owns the club, manages the club. Yet he can't. When they get promoted, if they had gone up, they finished below my team, Worthing, this year. If they'd gone up, he needs to have a certain coaching badge to stand on the touchline. What, he needs a badge telling him he can talk football, if he knows what he's doing. He can employ coaches to do that, but apparently even he needs that badge. It's stupid. They do it in Forte Island in Cork. Maybe that's where I'll do. Maybe I'll look into that. I'll come over, Trev. I'll come over and do it in Ireland. O'Shea was training at 18 years old plus. Yeah, exactly. And it's a great place. Training under 18s, it gives a lot back to you. You understand what it was like to go through that. I love it. I love training 18-year-olds. 16 to 18, you're their outlet from home life, and you get to see a lot about players, and you get to sometimes get that respect back from them, and you really do need to own it, because at the end of the day, you're just a guy there from football. But when you're playing for levels, we're not just going out on a Sunday playing football. When you're playing county level or Isthmian level or club level, if you've got to treat them with the right respect, so they learn what the respect is going forward, so they don't get a bang on the back of the head from a manager the following year once they turn 19 and they go into adult football. Guys, it's been an amazing night. Absolutely amazing. If you've made it this far, you guys on X, you guys, the 5 of you watching now, please, please, please. Like I don't want to sound like I'm begging, but I've got plans to keep this channel moving forward, and I need your help to do it. So leave comments, anything, what you thought about the show. If you've watched it back and you've got this far, get in there. Anything you feel you would have wanted to say, but you didn't see it live, I'll answer it in the comments afterwards. But right now, my bed is calling me. Trevor, I'll answer this as the last one. Getting back to Mikel Salgado, what a right back. He had just finished his coaching badges session, got on his trainers and went straight for a 10-mile jog on busy motorway. Yep, that guy, that's mentality monster. That's the kind of stuff that needs to be passed on. And the more people that can train with the ex-pros and that, they get to bring that down with them. Guys, absolutely amazing. Thank you for your time and your questions. We'll be back Friday night preview for who have we got? Sunderland. Preview for the Sunderland. I won't be doing a player review Saturday straight after the game, 5 o'clock. We will be out for dinner. I will probably do everything on the Sunday. Take care. Trevor, you look after yourself. Grace, been amazing. Not sure if you're still here. And I will see you Friday, guys. Thank you. Good night.